Welcome back, guys, to my vlog. My name is Gotty, and today we are up for a roller coaster ride. We're here standing at the entrance of the over there Partypoker Championship. Today is the main event, 550 buying, 500k guarantee, but it definitely will smash it because it's running since the 17th, so over 2 weeks online already. And now we have beginning of April. Since yesterday the event started, and we had I don't know how many entrants already, and I played cash game the first 2 days, was running pretty well, so I'm really confident, I'm really prepared, I'm really ready for the main event, and that's where I'm heading over now and keep you updated. Let's go. There we are again, back in the studio. Unfortunately, the main event didn't went that well. There are not so many spectacular hands to go over with, so I decided to turn this tournament main event vlog back to a cash game vlog. Like I mentioned before, in the first 2 days of the series I was playing 2-5 and was running pretty well. So also after the main event, after I busted, I jumped right back into the 2-5 streets. I played roughly 2.5 hours and make another really good profit. So in the first 3 days of the series I was already up more than 2k in profit. So I decided on the Sunday, on the 4th day, to play a side event starting early in the day, the Portomaso Cup. Also there I sold half of the action like I did in all the other tournaments I played so far this year. This was a really short one for me, unfortunately, only 1.5 hours. There was no chance to get anything going. Everything was running against me. I lost all of it, so no chance there. But then I decided it's Sunday, it's mid of the day, let's jump back into the 2-5 game. And this is a 7-hour session, and these are the hands for it. Let's go. We start the action in the first orbit. I bought in for 700 euro. I'm one of the biggest stacks at the 6-handed table at the beginning. I opened 8-6 suited from the cutoff for 15 euro. In a second, when I dropped the chips in the middle, I realized that the big blind only has 150 euro left in his stack. Luckily he just calls when the button and the small blind folds. And when the flop comes 6-6-3 rainbow, I'll definitely try to get the rest of the chips. So when he checks to me, I put in a small c-bet. Unfortunately he folds right away, but it feels like a good start. In the next hand, still 6-handed, I open up from the hijack with king-9 suited. It folds around to the small blind, which puts in the call, and the big blind folds. So we go heads up to the flop, which comes jack 8-7 with 2 clubs. Favorable hand for my specific hand, but not for my range. And when he checks over to me, I still put in a c-bet for my really draw-having hand, because the plan is if he calls, I can check back almost all the turns to see a free river. So he calls, but the turn comes the ace of clubs. So right away I have stone cold nuts. And when he checks over to me, now I check back for disguising my strength of the hand. And when the river comes queen of hearts, he takes a bait and puts in a bet of 40 euro. I'll raise him to 160 euro and he instantly folds. So there is a mistake in the sizing on the river. I should have gone more like shy over 100 euro, like 110, 120 euro to get a crying call from any ace holdings. Weaker jacks like a king jack, maybe king queen, jack 10 type of hand. But nevertheless, I'm happy to win the pot. On to the next one. From this hand on, we finally play 8-handed also for the rest of the session. I'm on a hijack. I open up the action for 15 euro with king 10 off, which is definitely too wide. From this position it should be a fold actually, but the table was really passive, so I tried to be more active. It folds around to the big blind, which puts in the call, so we go heads up to the flop. The flop comes king jack 3 or spade. He checks over to me. I put in the c-bet like you should do on the monotone board, despite the fact that I have the top pair with a weaker kicker. And before he calls, he rechecks his card, so I put him right away on a smaller spade holding. When the 7 of spade is coming on a turn and he checks over to me, I try to steal a pot, put in 50 euro for 80% pot size bet, try to represent the good flush because I can hold all the big flushes. like ace king, king queen, king jack, king 10 with a 10 of spade, for example. And when he puts in the call, I already gave up. And when the river is a blank and he puts in a bet of 105 euro, I instantly fold, because these type of players will never get off a flush, no matter how small it is. So on to the next one. In this hand, I changed the seat, so I moved from the early position to the late position. That's why I had to put in 5 euro blind. And when the action folds to me, I check my option with 10-9 off. It goes over to the cutoff, which puts in a raise to 15 euro. Small blind and big blind calls, and I call as well. So we go 4-way to the flop, which comes ace 10-9 rainbow. The blinds and me, we check over to the pre-raiser, but he checks behind. So we go to the turn, which comes to 3. All rainbow board, small blind checks, and the big blind leads out for 20 euro. There's no reason to play sneaky since everybody was checking on the flop, so I try to build a pot right away. I raise to 60 euro. The cutoff and the small blind folds, but the big blind calls. Heads up to the river, which brings a blank, the deuce. He checks over to me, and I put in a bet of 110 euro. But unfortunately, he open folds an ace. My first idea was to put in a bet of roughly 30% half pot size bet to get a crying call from pocket 5s, pocket 6s, maybe weaker ace, or also give him the chance to raise me for a bluff. But I was too greedy and he made a good fold, so on to the next one. In this hand, I open up the action from the cutoff for 20 euro with ace 6 and spade. It folds around to the big blind, which makes the call, and the flop comes queen 10-4 with 1 spade. He checks over to me, and since he's a pretty weak player and a calling station, and I absolutely missed this flop at all, I just check behind, and the turn brings a 10 of spade. So I have a weak flush draw now, and when he donk leads for 20 euro, I just make the call for getting a good price. And when the river brings a 3 of spades and he checks over to me, I'm really certain I have the best hand. So I put in a bet of 50 euro for pure value. He calls and I happily show my weak flush, and he shows me a better flush. Not much better, just one better with 9-7 of spade. So I value on myself, but like I mentioned, really weak player. Why don't lead the turn and then check the river? But anyhow, good for him. On to the next one. And this hand here is a nice multi-way pot, low jack and high jack limp. Goes over to me on the cutoff of ace 5 and hearts. I bump it up to 25 euro. The small blind likes to participate, so he calls, which also brings in the low jack and the high jack. So we go 4-way to the flop, which comes jack 4-3 with 2 hearts. They all check over to me. And since I have one overcard, not flush draw, and a gut shot to the straight, I definitely continue here. So I put in a c bet of 40 euro. Only the hijack calls. We go to the turn, which comes the queen of spade. He checks over to me, and in the situation I check back. And the river gives me the nuts with the 7 and hearts. And even better, when he leads out for 105 euro, I tank a little bit and put him all in, because he only has like roughly 200 euro behind. But surprisingly, he folds. But actually, this is my mistake, because the turn definitely should have been a bet around 60-70% of the pot, like roughly 100 euro, because the queen definitely favors my range more than his. So either I get him off of a better hand on the turn and win the pot right away, or I get all the remaining chips in on the river if I get there, or even if he jams the turn, I can easily call it off with my equity. So unfortunately, I left some chips on the table in this situation, but on to the next one. In this hand, the action starts with the hijack. He opens up for 10 euro. I'm on a button with king 10 suited, so I like to isolate here and put in a raise of 35 euro. The blinds fold and the hijack makes the call. So we go heads up to the flop, which comes 10-7-5 with 2 clubs. So it's kind of connected board, and when he checks over to me, I have top pair with a decent kicker. So I put in a c-bet for 30 euro for value / protection. But he has other ideas and check raises me to 100 euro. I'm checking his stack and he has something like 270, 280 behind. So for a moment I'm thinking to put him all in here, but if he's only on a draw, maybe even a weaker draw, like a semi bluff, or maybe on a weaker 10, then maybe I can get him off here off the hook and would lose value. I only see him calling with a better hand, like a 2 pair, maybe set. So I just make the call in position and re-evaluate the turn. The turn brings a jack of hearts. He checks over to me and slows down. I check behind, and the river brings a 6 of clubs, so the front door flush gets there, and he checks to me again. Nothing to do here. I check behind, I take my showdown value, and I don't see any weaker hand to come here, since all the draws got there. And he shows me ace 10, So he wins the pot, but I think I just lost the minimum in this situation, so on to the next one. In this hand is another min opening from the hijack to 10 euro. I'm in the cutoff with 10-9 off. I put in a raise for isolation for 35 euro. It's a bit wide, but at this point of time I had a really good read and feeling for the table, and with my loose aggressive play I could control the table and collect a lot of small pots. So in this situation though, the small blind cold calls and the hijack calls as well. So we got 3-way to the flop, which comes ace-9-3 rainbow. Both players check to me and I put in a range bet of 25 euro and both players make the call. The turn is an 8 and both players check to me again, but at this time there was something suspicious with the small blind, the way how he reacted. So I check back here and see what the river brings, and the river brings an ace. Both players check to me again, so I really had the feeling there's no ace in my opponent's holdings. But like I said, I had a weird feeling about the small blind on the turn, so I just check back. I have the second pair and he shows me pocket 8 for turn set and river full house, so I got away super cheap. So that shows paying attention to the players and to the tables is super important and helpful, so on to the next one. This hand is a fun one. The hijack opens to 15 euro, the cutoff calls and I'm in the big blind with 5-4 off. I defend, so we go 3-way to the flop, which comes ace-6 deuce with 2 diamonds. The action checks through on the flop and the turn brings a 9 of diamonds. I check over to the hijack and he puts in a bet of 10 euro. The cutoff calls and I get a really good price for my gut shot and my super weak flush, and I just make the call and see what happens on the river. The river brings the 5 of diamonds, so I have a super weak baby flush, and funny enough the action checks through and I'm first to act. I show my super weak flush and it's good enough against the kings from the hijack, and the cutoff only shows an ace. So I would have folded to any river bet or any bigger bet on a turn, but this table was super soft, so I'm happy to take the pot. On to the last one. This brings us to the last hand of the night. The cutoff opened for 12 euro with an effective stack of 400. And I'm on a small blind with pocket 9s. I'll raise it up to 40 euro. The big blind folds and the hijack makes the call. The flop is almost perfect with queen 9-3 with 2 clubs. I also have the 9 of clubs in my hand. So I put in a C bet of half pot size bet 40 euro and he raises me to 140 euro. So I put him right away on a good queen or maybe on a good draw, so nothing to do here than to put him all in. He doesn't take too long to make the call. I offered him to run it multiple times, but he refuses and said only one time. And the run out is the turn is a 5 and the river is an ace. So I knew I definitely have the best hand. I show my set of 9s and he mucks and he just let me know he was on a flush draw. So I'm really happy for another good pot towards the end of the night. And I really hope you enjoyed the spots, you enjoyed the hands, and on to the outro. So another 2-5 session in the books, and the stats you will see here somewhere, also the ones from how the weekend was running. I played a lot of cash game, a lot of hours. My voice is a little bit scratchy, don't apologize for that. And I played 2 tournaments, unfortunately didn't run that well in the tournaments. Well, you see also the stats over here. And but I'm really like satisfied how this whole party poker setup went, how the organization, the big props to the management, big props to the dealers, especially big props to the service and everything. The Portomaso casino, the Hilton conference center, like everything runs smooth, everything is like really good organized, and it looks amazing. You saw a lot of in the videos. Yeah, tournament was running good. They have 848 starters for the main event, so they didn't catch the guarantee, but an overlay is always good for the players. Yeah, we have a lot of poker action coming. We have the Battle of Malta coming and the poker festival just right after the Battle of Malta, so it's a lot of poker action coming, and there I'll definitely play the main event as well. I'm really looking forward for that. I heard a lot of good stories. This one will be actually in Casino Malta and in cooperation with the Intercontinental, and I'm really curious how this will be, and I'm definitely looking forward for it. Thank you very much, guys. Hope you made it so far, and if you liked, then push the button for like, ring the bell, subscribe. If you have any questions or whatever comments, please
put the comments down below. I'm really happy to read any comments. And yeah, thank you very much, and see you soon.